All right. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat shalom. Shabbat, 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 Shabbat shalom. Hey. Good morning. It is morning this time. I'm always wanting to say good morning when we get on here, even though it's usually afternoon. So good morning, good morning. Shabbat shalom, everybody. Can y'all hear me, see me, all the things? Okay. Good. Okay. The second I start talking, this happens every time. Ava, watch out. Go on, baby. This is why if you listen to my videos very carefully, the ones that I narrate, you will often hear a cat purring in the background. Go on, Eva. Go lay down. Because as soon as everything is quiet and I start talking, she's like, whoop, right at me. She will probably be back repeatedly. Yes, it is raining here. Jesus. We got good rain already, but no leaks. That is good. It just started raining here a little bit ago. Shabbat shalom, Dana. And Diane. Grandma Ginger, Aaron, Sarah. Let's see, Anne, Pauline, Lisa, Debbie. What do we have here? Kathy. Good morning, everybody. Snowing there. Oh, my goodness. Patty, Shabbat Shalom. Anne says, woke up to over 6 inches of snow this morning in the Arizona mountains. My goodness. Good morning, Wendy. Dogs, go lay down. Go on. You were just out. Go on. Go lay down. This is why I try to do all of my videos like this outside, because there's always chaos here in the house. So there will probably be lots of interruptions, dogs, cats, all the things. Good morning, Melanie. And Wendy, I don't know if I said Wendy. Cloudy and overcast there, rained overnight. Yep. All right. So today, because on the calendar that I currently use, it has been Passover week, and it's also been Passover week according to the journal that I've used for years, has the reading schedule in here. They pause reading the Torah portion during Passover week, and they stop and they read a number of scriptures that point to Passover or about Passover and things like that. So this week is going to be a little bit different. We're not going to be doing the regular Torah portion. We're going to read through all of the scriptures that we had here instead. So let's see where we left off. I don't think any of them repeat, but they're all going to be very similar. So we're going to be jumping back and forth between Exodus and Leviticus and a little bit in Numbers as well. So each one will just I'll just go day by day according to the calendar schedule or the schedule in here, and we'll just go with that. Now, in the past, for the finale of Passover, it includes the Song of Songs or Song of Solomon. And I read through that last year. That's a lot. So I'm not going to do that one this year. Instead, I'm reading through the week's schedule or the week's scriptures for Passover week. Let me mute my phone. All right. So let's go back to Sunday. And We'll be reading in Exodus and in Numbers. Exodus 12 will be the first portion that we're going to read. Or in Exodus 12. But first, let us start off with some prayer. Blessed are you, Lord our God, King of the universe, who gives the Torah of truth and the good news of salvation to your people Israel and to all people through your Son, Yeshua the Messiah. Father, I just lift up everyone who's here today. I pray that you are here with us and that you give us eyes to see and ears to hear what your word has for us today. We ask this in the name of your Son, Yeshua HaMashiach. Amen. Okay. Shabbat Shalom. All right. So like I said just a moment ago, we're going to, instead of reading the regular Torah portion, we're going to pause and we're going to read all of these scriptures that are pertinent to the week of Passover. And I'm getting these from the journal that I've been using for years, from Daily Bread for Busy Moms. And after this, we kind of pick up, and I'll continue using the Torah portion that they have in here because it will kind of catch up and get back to the regular schedule that we were on previously. And pardon me if I'm trying to not sneeze here for a moment. The oak and the pine pollen are relentless right now. All right. So the first scripture passage is in Exodus 12, and it's verse 21 through 51, which is likely, just finishing the chapter. So we'll start 12:21. Okay. And the Bible that I'm reading out of is the CJB Bible. It's my favorite. It's the one that I use almost all of the time. I've got several others that I use when I'm studying out scriptures, but this is my everyday Bible. So, Exodus 12:21. Then Moshe called for all the leaders of Israel and said, "Select and take lambs for your families and slaughter the Pesach lamb, Passover. Take a bunch of hyssop leaves, dip it in the blood which is in the basin, and smear it on the two sides and the top of the door frame. Then none of you is to go out the door of his house until morning. For Yahuwah will pass through to kill the Egyptians. But when he sees the blood on the top and the two sides, Yahuwah will pass over the door and will not allow the slaughterer to enter your houses and kill you. You are to observe this as a law, you and your descendants forever. When you come to the land which Yahuwah will give you, as he has promised, you are to observe this ceremony. When your children ask you, what do you mean by this ceremony? Say, it is the sacrifice of Yahuwah's Pesach, Passover, because Yahuwah passed over the houses of the people of Israel in Egypt, when he killed the Egyptians but spared our houses. The people of Israel bowed their heads and worshipped. Then the people of Israel went and did as Yahuwah had ordered Moshe and Aaron. That is what they did. At midnight, Yahuwah killed all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, from the firstborn of Pharaoh sitting on his throne to the firstborn of the prisoner in the dungeon, and all the firstborn of the livestock. Pharaoh got up in the night, he and all his servants and all the Egyptians, and there was a horrendous wailing in Egypt, for there wasn't a single house with someone dead in it. He summoned Moshe and Aaron by night and said, "Up and leave my people, both you and the people of Israel, and go, serve Yahuwah as you said. Take both your flocks and your herds as you said, and get out of here. But bless me too." The Egyptians pressed to send the people out of the land quickly because they said, "Otherwise we'll all be dead." The people took their dough before it had become leavened and wrapped their kneading bowls in their cloths on their shoulders. The people of Israel had done what Moshe had said, and they asked the Egyptians to give them silver and gold jewelry and clothing. And Yahweh had made the Egyptians so favorably disposed toward the people that they let them have whatever they requested. Thus they plundered the Egyptians. The people of Israel traveled from Ramses to Sukkot, some 600,000 men on foot, not counting children. A mixed crowd also went up with them, not just Hebrews. And as well as livestock in large numbers, both flocks and herds, they made matzah loaves from the dough that they had brought out of Egypt, since it was unleavened, because they had been driven out of Egypt without time to prepare supplies for themselves. The time the people of Israel lived in Egypt was 430 years. At the end of 430 years, to the day, all the divisions of Yahweh left the land of Egypt. This was a night when Yahweh kept vigil to bring them out of the land of Egypt. And this same night continues to be a night when Yahweh keeps vigil for all his people of Israel throughout all their generations. Yahweh said to Moshe and Aaron, "This is the regulation for the Pesach lamb. No foreigner is to eat it, but if anyone has a slave he bought for money, when you have circumcised him, he may eat it. Neither a traveler nor a hired servant may eat it. It is to be eaten in one house. You are not to take any of the meat outside the house, and you are not to break any of its bones. The whole community of Israel is to keep it. If a foreigner staying with you wants to observe Yahweh's Pesach, all his males must be circumcised. Then he may take part and observe it. He will be like a citizen of the land, but no uncircumcised person is to eat it. This same teaching is to apply equally to the citizen and to the foreigner living among you." All the people of Israel did just as Yahweh had ordered Moshe and Aaron. On that very day, Yahweh brought the people of Israel out of the land of Egypt by their divisions. So I want to just pause right here. That was the passage for this one. You know, when you read through that, it says that this is not for the uncircumcised. And we know today that it is about a circumcision of the heart, not a circumcision of the flesh that makes you spiritually part of Israel, adopted into the family. So Passover is very, very special and very, very holy. And it is not something that just anyone can take part of. If you're not a believer, or if someone is not a believer, they're not supposed to participate in this. And it says this, it makes this statement in a couple of different places in the scriptures. This isn't a community celebration. This isn't 4th of July. This isn't Thanksgiving. This is special, and it's for God's people only. So just something to keep in mind. A foreigner could participate once they were set aside and part of God's people. Then they're just like any other citizen. Okay, the other passage for this one is Numbers 28. So let me mark this page, and we'll jump over to Numbers. And we're reading verses 16 to 25. Numbers 28, 16 to 25. Oh, and I forgot to mention at the beginning here. So the reason that I'm doing this early today is because Mr. Smith my husband Jeff, has been on a business trip, and he comes back today, and I have to pick him up at the airport. So I had to reschedule this to be earlier because I would have been at the airport or driving when we normally do our videos. Normally these are, if you're brand new, this is your first time here, we usually do this at 12:30-ish Central Time. So had to move it up a little bit today. All right. Numbers 28, 16 to 25. And this is one of the chapters that's all about the feasts. In the first month, on the 14th day of the month, is Yahweh's Pesach. On the 15th day of the month is to be a feast. Matzah is to be eaten for 7 days. The first day is to be a holy convocation. Do not do any kind of ordinary work, but present an offering made by fire, a burnt offering to Yahweh consisting of 2 young bulls, 1 ram, and 7 male lambs in their first year. They are to be without defect for you. With their grain offering, their fine flour mixed with olive oil, Offer 6 quarts for a bull, 4 quarts for the ram, and 2 quarts for each of the 7 lambs. Also, a male goat is as a sin offering to make atonement for you. You are to offer these in addition to the morning burnt offering, which is the regular burnt offering. In this fashion, you are to offer daily for 7 days the food of the offering made by fire, making a fragrant aroma for Yahweh. It is to be offered in addition to the regular burnt offering and its drink offering. On the 7th day, you are to have a holy convocation. Do not do any kind of ordinary work. All right, so that was the scriptures for Sunday. And today, for the Monday scriptures, we're jumping over to Leviticus. We're jumping back to Leviticus 22, or chapter 22, and it's verse 26 through 23:44. So 22:26 to 23. I think it might be the whole chapter. Yes, the whole chapter of 23. Okay. Yahweh said to Moshe, when a bull, sheep, or goat is born, it is to stay with its mother for 7 days, but from the 8th day on it may be accepted for an offering made by fire to Yahweh. However, no animal is to be slaughtered together with its young on the same day, neither cow nor ewe, because that's just not nice. When you offer a sacrifice of thanksgiving to Yahweh, you must do it in a way such that you will be accepted. It must be eaten on the same day it is offered. Leave none of it till morning. I am Yahweh. You are to keep my mitzvot, my commands, and obey them. I am Yahweh. You are not to profane my holy name. On the contrary, I am to be regarded as holy among the people of Israel. I am Yahweh who makes you holy, who brought you out of the land of Egypt to be your God. I am Yahweh. Chapter 23. Yahweh said to Moshe, tell the people of Israel the designated times of Yahweh, which you are to proclaim as holy convocations, are my designated times. Work is to be done on 6 days, but the 7th day is a Shabbat of complete rest, a holy convocation. You're not to do any kind of work. It is a Shabbat for Yahweh, even in your homes. These are the designated times of Yahweh, the holy convocations you are to proclaim as at their designated times. These aren't our celebrations, our holidays, holy days, whatever. They're God's. They're His. In the first month, on the 14th day of the month, between sundown and complete darkness, comes Pesach. For Yahweh, on the 15th day of the same month is the festival of Matzah. For 7 days you are to eat matzah. On the first day you are to have a holy convocation. Do not do any kind of ordinary work. Bring an offering made by fire to Yahweh for 7 days. On the 7th day is a holy convocation, and do not do any kind of ordinary work. Yahweh said to Moshe, tell the people of Israel, after you enter the land I am giving you and harvest its ripe crops, you are to bring a sheaf of the first fruits of your harvest to the Cohen. He is to wave the sheaf before Yahweh so that you will be accepted. The Cohen is to wave it on the day after the Shabbat. On the day that you wave the sheaf, you are to offer a male lamb without defect in its first year as a burnt offering to Yahweh. Its grain offering is to be of 1 gallon of fine flour mixed with olive oil, an offering made by fire to Yahweh as a fragrant aroma. Its drink offering is to be of wine, 1 quart. You are not to eat bread, dried grains, or fresh grain until the day you bring the offering for your God. This is a permanent regulation through all your generations, no matter where you live. From the day after the day of rest, that is, from the day you bring the sheaf for waving, you are to count 7 full weeks. Until the day after the 7th week, you are to count 50 days, and then you are to present a new grain offering to Yahweh. You must bring bread from your homes for waving, 2 loaves made with 1 gallon of fine flour. That's a lot of flour, y'all. A gallon of flour. baked with leaven as first fruits for Yahuwah. Along with the bread, present 7 lambs without defect, 1 year old, 1 bull, and 2 rams. These will be burnt offerings for Yahuwah, with their grain and drink offerings, an offering made by fire as a fragrant aroma for Yahuwah. Offer 1 male goat as a sin offering and 2 male lambs, 1 year old, as a sacrifice of peace offerings. The Kohen will wave them with the bread of the first fruits as a wave offering before Yahuwah. With the 2 lambs, these will be holy for Yahuwah, for the Kohen. On the same day, you are to call a holy convocation. Do not do any kind of ordinary work. This is a permanent regulation throughout all your generations, no matter where you live. So this is Shavuot, also known as Pentecost, the 50th day. When you harvest the ripe crops produced in your land, don't harvest all the way to the corners of your field, and don't gather the ears of grain left by the harvesters. Leave them for the poor and the foreigner. I am Yahuwah your God. Yahuwah said to Moshe, tell the people of Israel, in the 7th month, the first of the month, is to be for you a day of complete rest, for remembering a holy convocation, announced with a blast on the shofar. Do not do any kind of ordinary work, and bring an offering made by fire to Yahuwah. That's the Feast of Trumpets, or Yom Teruah. Yahuwah said to Moshe, the 10th day of the 7th month is Yom Kippur. You are to have a holy convocation. You are to deny yourselves. You are to bring an offering made by fire to Yahuwah. You are not to do any kind of work on that day, because it is Yom Kippur, to make atonement for you before Yahuwah your God. Anyone who does not deny himself on that day is to be cut off from his people. And anyone who does any kind of work on that day, I will destroy from among his people. You are not to do any kind of work. It is a permanent regulation throughout all your generations, no matter where you live. It will be for you a Shabbat of complete rest, and you are to deny yourselves. You are to rest on your Shabbat from the evening of the 9th day of the month until the following evening. Good morning. Good morning, those who are joining in. We are reading scriptures for Passover week, so we're not reading the regular Torah portion this week. Anyone joining in later? We're currently in chapter 23 in Leviticus, so verse 33. Yahuwah said to Moshe, tell the people of Israel, on the 15th day of the 7th month is a feast of Sukkot for 7 days to Yahuwah. On the first day, there is to be a holy convocation. Do not do any kind of ordinary work. For 7 days, you are to bring an offering made by fire to Yahuwah. On the 8th day, you are to have a holy convocation and bring an offering made by fire to Yahuwah. It is a day of public assembly. Do not do any kind of ordinary work. These are the designated times of Yahuwah that you are to proclaim as holy convocations and bring an offering made by fire to Yahuwah. A burnt offering, a grain offering, a sacrifice, and drink offerings, each on its own day. Besides the Shabbats of Yahuwah, your gifts, all your vows, and all your voluntary offerings that you give to Yahuwah. So he's talking about Shabbats, and that's not just the weekly Shabbat like today, but it's all of the Shabbats, all of the special days where you're not supposed to do holy, or you're not supposed to do ordinary work, and you're supposed to make it holy. So these are kind of all referred to as Shabbats. But on the 15th day of the 7th month, when you have gathered the produce of the land, you are to observe the festival of Yahuwah 7 days. The first day is to be a complete rest, and the 8th day is to be a complete rest. On the first day, you are to take choice fruit, palm fronds, thick branches, and river willows, and celebrate in the presence of Yahuwah your God for 7 days. You are to observe it as a feast to Yahuwah 7 days in the year. It is a permanent regulation, generation after generation. Keep it in the 7th month. You are to live in Sukkot for 7 days. Every citizen of Israel is to live in a sukkah. Sukkot is plural of sukkah, which is a temporary shelter. So that generation after generation of you will know that I made the people of Israel live in Sukkot when I brought them out of the land of Egypt. I am Yahuwah your God. Thus Moshe announced to the people of Israel the designated times of Yahuwah. All right. Then we have Numbers 28. Verses 16 to 25. Numbers 28, 16 to 25. In the first month, on the 14th day of the month, is Yahweh's Pesach. On the 15th day of the month is to be a feast. Matzah is to be eaten for 7 days. The first day is to be a holy convocation. Do not do any kind of ordinary work, but present an offering made by fire, a burnt offering to Yahweh consisting of 2 young bulls, 1 ram, and 7 male lambs in their first year. They are to be without defect for you. With their grain offering, fine flour mixed with olive oil. Observe 6 quarts for a bull, 4 quarts for the ram, and 2 quarts for each of the 7 lambs. Also a male goat as a sin offering to make atonement for you. You are to offer these in addition to the morning burnt offering, which is the regular burnt offering. In this fashion you are to offer daily for 7 days the food of the offering made by fire, making a fragrant aroma for Yahweh. It is to be offered in addition to the regular burnt offering and its drink offering. On the 7th day you are to have a holy convocation. Do not do any kind of ordinary work. All right. So there's Monday's scriptures. Missouri girl. Good morning. Did you change your name? Because I don't remember giving a wrench to a Missouri girl. If you changed, is that Rebecca? I think I recognize the picture. Who is that? Who is that? Okay, next we are in Exodus 13. Hello, Catherine. Good morning. So we are reading a variety of scriptures this week instead of the regular Torah portion, and they are all involving Passover. All right, Exodus 13, verses 1 through 16. The whole chapter, basically. Yes. Okay. Yahweh said to Moshe, set aside for me all the firstborn, whatever is first from the womb among the people of Israel, both of humans and of animals, belong to me. Moshe said to the people, remember this day on which you left Egypt, the abode of slavery, because Yahweh, by the strength of his hand, has brought you out of this place. Do not eat chametz, leavening. You are leaving today in the month of Aviv. When Yahweh brings you into the land of the Canaanite, Hittite, Amori, Hivi, Yevusi, which he swore to your ancestors to give you, a land flowing with milk and honey. Ava, here, get on my lap, girl. Come here. Come here. Come here. Come here. Lay down. Lay down. Get on my lap. Where did I lay off? Swore to give you a land flowing. Okay, get down. Oh, no, get down. Again, this is why I usually do these outside in the greenhouse or other places. A land flowing with milk and honey. You are to observe this ceremony in this month. For 7 days you are to eat matzah, and the 7th day is to be a festival for Yahweh. Matzah is to be eaten throughout the 7 days, neither chametz nor leavening agents. See, now that scripture right there is where people think, not just leavening, not just yeast, but maybe also baking soda and baking powder. Food for thought. Are to be seen with you throughout your territory. On that day, you are to tell your son, it is because of what Yahweh did for me when I left Egypt. Moreover, it will serve you as a sign on your hand and as a reminder between your eyes, so that Yahweh's Torah may be on your lips, because with a strong hand Yahweh brought you out of Egypt. Therefore, you are to observe this regulation at its proper time, year after year. When Yahweh brings you into the land of the Canaanite, as he swore to you and your ancestors, and gives it to you, you are to set apart For Yahweh, everything that is first from the womb, every firstborn male animal will belong to Yahweh. Every firstborn from a donkey you are to redeem with a lamb. It always strikes me when I read that, because we think of donkeys being unclean, uncommon, or common animals, but the lamb redeems them, just like us. But if you choose not to redeem it, you must break its neck. But from the people you are to redeem every firstborn son. When at some future time your son asks you, "What is this?" then say to him, "With a strong hand Yahweh brought us out of Egypt, out of the abode of slavery. When Pharaoh was unwilling to let us go, Yahweh killed the firstborn males in the land of Egypt, both the firstborn of humans and the firstborn of animals. And this is why I sacrifice to Yahweh any male that is first from the womb of an animal. But of the firstborn of my sons I redeem. This will serve as a sign on your hand and the frontlet of a headband around your forehead, that with a strong hand Yahweh brought us out of Egypt." So again, this will serve as a sign on your hand and the frontlet between your eyes. The things you do are the reminders. They're the signs. They're the things. They're the actions that are your constant reminder of what you're supposed to do. Judaism, especially Orthodox Judaism, took this literally, and that's why you see the tefillin, like the headband with the box, and the cord wrap, the leather strap around their arm. It's on the hand of the forehead, and they made a physical, literal thing. But the actions, these things that you're doing, are the sign of the remembrance. So, just a thought, just something to chew on. Okay. So next we go to jumping back to Numbers again, chapter 28. We're jumping back and forth between Exodus, Numbers, and Leviticus mostly here today, or maybe exclusively. So Numbers 28. And it's 19. We already read this one, actually. Okay, in the journal, sometimes these repeat. So since we literally just read these scriptures, we're going to skip that one. Okay, so that same exact scripture passage is in each of these days. So we will, let's see here. I don't want to repeat readings if we've already done them. Good morning, Christine. Hello. All right, so we got Leviticus 22. Okay, we just read that one. Okay, Exodus 34. Have we read that one yet? No. Okay. So the next one we're going to read is Exodus chapter 34. Exodus 22. Do we read that one? That's the one we just read. Okay. All right. So the next scripture we're going to read is Exodus 34, verses 1 through 26. Pardon. I should have written down the ones that we were going to do today. That way I could know in advance which ones were repeats. Oh, thank you, Kavreen. Good morning. All right. Exodus 34. All right. And it's verses 1 through 26. Okay. So again, we're not reading the regular Torah portion this week. We are reading through scriptures all in reference to Passover. And because it's been Passover week and we're kind of wrapping up Passover week. And then next week we'll jump back into the Torah portions. All right. Exodus 34, 1 through 26. Yahweh said to Moshe, "Cut yourself 2 tablets of stone like the first ones, and I will inscribe on the tablets the words that were on the first tablets, which you broke. Be ready by morning. In the morning you are to ascend Mount Sinai and to present yourself to me at the top of the mountain. No one is to come up with you, and no one is to be seen anywhere on the mountain. Don't even let your flocks or herds in front of this mountain. Moshe cut 2 stone tablets like the first. Then he got up early in the morning, and with the 2 stone tablets in his hand, ascended Mount Sinai, as Yahuwah had ordered him to do. Yahuwah descended on the cloud, stood with him there, pronounced the name of Yahuwah. Yahuwah passed before him and proclaimed, Yud-He, Vav-He, Yud-He, Vav-He. Yahuwah is God, merciful and compassionate, slow to anger, rich in grace and truth, showing grace to the 1000th generation, forgiving offenses, crimes, and sins, yet not exonerating the guilty, but causing the negative effects of the parents' offenses to be experienced by the children and the grandchildren, and even by the 3rd and 4th generations. At once Moshe bowed his head to the ground and prostrated himself and said, If I have now found favor in your view, Adonai, then please let Adonai go with us, even though they are a stiff-necked people, and pardon our offenses and our sin, and take us as your possession. He said, I am here making a covenant in front of all your people. I will do wonders such as not have been created anywhere on earth or in any nation. All the people around you will see the work of Yahuwah. What I am going to do through you will be awesome. Observe what I am ordering you to do today. Here, I am driving out ahead of you the Amorite, the Canaanite, the Hittite, the Perizi, the Hivi, and the Yevusi. Be careful not to make a covenant with the people living in the land where you are going, so that they won't become a snare within your own borders. Rather, you are to demolish their altars, smash their standing stones, and cut down their sacred poles. I think that's kind of like a totem pole. I think. Because you are not to bow down to any other God, since Yahuwah, whose very name is a jealous God. Do not make a covenant with the people living in the land. It will cause you to go astray after their gods and sacrifice to their gods. And then they will invite you to join them in eating their sacrifices, and you will take their daughters as wives for your sons. Their daughters will prostitute themselves to their own gods and make your sons do the same. Do not cast metal gods for yourselves. Keep the festival of matzah by eating matzah as I ordered you for 7 days during the month of Aviv. For it was in the month of Aviv that you came out of Egypt. Everything that is first from the womb is mine. All of your livestock you are to set aside for me, the males, the firstborn of the cattle and flock. The firstborn of a donkey you must redeem with a lamb, and if you won't redeem it, break its neck. All the firstborn of your sons you are to redeem, and no one is to appear before me empty-handed. 6 days you will work, but on the 7th you are to rest. Even in plowing time and harvest season you are to rest. Observe the festival of Shavuot with the first gathered produce of the wheat harvest, and the festival of ingathering at the turn of the year. 3 times a year all your men are to appear before the Lord Yahuwah, the God of Israel. For I am going to expel the nations ahead of you and expand your territory, and no one will even covet your land when you go up to appear before Yahuwah your God 3 times a year. You are not to offer the blood of my sacrifice with leavened bread. The sacrifice of the feast of Pesach is not to be left until morning. You are to bring the best first fruits of your land into the house of Yahuwah your God. You are not to boil a young goat in its mother's milk. Okay, so next we're going to Friday's scriptures. And let's make sure that wasn't a repeat. Okay. Numbers 9, 1 through 14. Numbers 9, 1 through 14. Okay. All right. Numbers 9, 1 through 14. Yahweh spoke to Moshe in the Sinai desert in the first month of the 2nd year after they had left the land of Egypt. And he said, Let the people of Israel observe Pesach at its designated time. On the 14th day of this month at dusk, you are to observe it. At its designated time, you are to observe it according to all its regulations and rules. Moshe told the people of Israel to observe Pesach. So they observed Pesach at dusk on the 14th day of the month in the Sinai desert. See, I've heard people say that the Israelites didn't do Passover when they were in the desert, but this just shows you right here that yes, they did. You are to observe it according to all its regulations and rules. Moshe told the people of Israel to observe Pesach. So they observed Pesach at dusk on the 14th day of the month in the Sinai desert. The people of Israel acted in accordance with all that Yahweh had ordered Moshe. But there were certain people who had become unclean because of someone's corpse, so that they could not observe Pesach on that day. So they came before Moshe and Aaron and said to him, "We are unclean because of someone's corpse. But why must we be kept from bringing the offering for Yahweh at the designated time for the people of Israel?" Moshe answered them, "Wait, so that I can hear what Yahweh will order concerning you." Yahweh said to Moshe, "Tell the people of Israel, any of you now or in the future generations who is unclean because of a corpse, or if he is on a trip abroad, nevertheless he is to observe Pesach, but he will observe it in the second month on the 14th day at dusk. They are to eat it with matzah and mar, and they are to leave none of it until morning, and they are not to break any of its bones. They are to observe it according to all the regulations of Pesach. But the person who is clean and not on a trip, who fails to observe Pesach, will be cut off from his people, because he did not bring the offering for Yahweh at its designated time. That person will bear the consequences of his sin. If a foreigner is staying with you and wants to observe Pesach for Yahweh, he is to do it according to the regulations and rules of Pesach, and you are to have the same law for the foreigner as for the citizen of the land." So there's some people who will actually do Passover twice, like people who don't live in Israel, because of this. So they'll do a Passover, and second month they'll do a second Passover because they're in the diocese. So I don't do that, but there's some people who do. Okay. So the last passage here, let me make sure it's not a repeat again. All right. It's Exodus 13. Wait, did we read that already? No. Okay. Exodus 13, verse 17. And then we will read through into chapter 15. Possibly all of it. I don't know. I'll look here in a second. All right. Exodus 13. Verse 17. Okay. And then 15. Almost the whole chapter 15. All but the last verse. Okay. Exodus 13, 17 to 15:26. Oh yeah, Grandma Ginger says they'll be doing second Passover. Do you do matzah too twice? I'm curious. Because I've heard of people doing it, but I've not actually known anybody who did. All right. After Pharaoh had let the people go, God did not guide them to the highway that goes through the land of the Philistines, because it was close by. God thought that the people, upon seeing war, might change their minds and return to Egypt. Rather, God led the people by a roundabout route through the desert by the Sea of Suf. That's the Sea of Reeds, or the Red Sea. The people of Israel went up from the land of Egypt fully armed. Moshe took the bones of Joseph with him, for Joseph had made the people of Israel swear an oath that when he said, "God will certainly remember you, and you are to carry my bones up with you away from here." They traveled from Sukkot and set up camp in Etam at the edge of the desert. Yahweh went ahead of them in a column of cloud during the daytime to lead them up on their way, and at night in a column of fire to give them light. Thus they could travel both by day and by night. Neither the column of cloud by day nor the column of fire at night went away from in front of the people. Yahweh said to Moshe, "Tell the people of Israel to turn around and set up camp in front of the Pi-Hahirot, between Migdal and the sea, in front of Baal Zephon, camp opposite by the sea. Then Pharaoh will say that the people of Israel are wandering aimlessly in the countryside, and the desert is closed in on them. I will make Pharaoh so hard-hearted that he will pursue them. Thus I will win glory for myself at the expense of Pharaoh and all his army, and the Egyptians will realize at last that I am Yahweh." The people did as ordered. When the king of Egypt was told that the people had fled, Pharaoh and his servants had a change of heart toward the people. They said, "What have we done, letting Israel stop being our slaves?" So he prepared his chariots and took his people with him. He took 600 first-quality chariots, as well as all the other chariots in Egypt, along with their commanders. Yahweh made Pharaoh hard-hearted, and he pursued the people of Israel as they left boldly. The Egyptians went after them, all the horses and the chariots of Pharaoh, with his cavalry and army, and overtook them as they were encamped by the sea, by Pi-Hahirot, in front of Baal Zephon. As Pharaoh approached, the people of Israel looked up and saw that the Egyptians right there coming after them. In great fear, the people of Israel cried out to Yahweh and said to Moshe, "Was it because there weren't enough graves in Egypt that you brought us out to die in the desert? Why have you done this to us, bringing us out of Egypt? Didn't we tell you in Egypt to let us alone? We'll just go on being slaves for the Egyptians. It would be better for us to be the Egyptian slaves than to die in the desert." Moshe answered the people, "Stop being so fearful. Remain steady, and you will see how Yahweh is going to save you. He will do it today. Today you have seen the Egyptians, but you will never see them again. Yahweh will do battle for you. Just calm yourselves down." Yahweh asked Moshe, "Why are you crying to me? Tell the people of Israel to go forward. Lift your staff, reach out with your hand over the sea, and divide it in two. The people of Israel will advance into the sea on dry ground. As for me, I will make the Egyptians hard-hearted, and they will march in after them. Thus I will win glory for myself at the expense of Pharaoh and all his army, chariots, and cavalry. Then the Egyptians will realize that I am Yahweh, when I have won myself glory at the expense of Pharaoh, his chariots, and his cavalry." Next, the angel of God, who was going ahead of the camp of Israel, moved away and went behind them, and the column of cloud moved away from in front of them and stood behind them. It stationed itself between the camp of Egypt and the camp of Israel, and there was cloud and darkness here, but light by night there, so that the one did not come near the other all night long. Moshe reached out his hand over the sea, and Yahweh caused the sea to go back before a strong east wind all night. He made the sea become dry land, and its water was divided in two. Then the people of Israel went into the sea on the dry ground, with the water walled up for them on their right and on their left. The Egyptians continued their pursuit, going after them into the sea, all Pharaoh's horses, chariots, and cavalry. Just before dawn, Yahweh looked out on the Egyptian army through the column of fire and cloud and threw them into a panic. He caused the wheels of their chariots to break off so that they could move only with difficulty. The Egyptians said, "Yahweh is fighting for Israel against the Egyptians. Let's get away from them." Yahweh said to Moshe, "Reach out your hand over the sea, and the water will return and cover the Egyptians with their chariots and cavalry." Moshe reached out his hand over the sea, and by dawn the sea had returned to its former depth. The Egyptians tried to flee, but Yahweh swept them into the sea. The water came back and covered all the chariots and cavalry of Pharaoh's army who had followed them into the sea. Not even one of them was left. But the people of Israel walked on dry ground in the sea, with the water walled up for them on their right and on their left. On that day, Yahweh saved Israel from the Egyptians, Israel saw the Egyptians dead on the shore. When Israel saw the mighty deed that Yahweh had performed against the Egyptians, the people feared Yahweh, and they believed in Yahweh and in his servant Moshe. If you haven't seen the newest episode, or not maybe the newest, but one of the newer episodes of the show, it's called Expedition Bible. I think it's what it's called. There was one, it was about a week old or so, about Pharaoh and the tomb that they found, and how it's the Pharaoh that's believed to be this Pharaoh, and how it's the only mummy they've ever seen that's covered in boils. So he had boil marks all over his body, and there was also his child son buried in the nearby, like in another room, which lines up with this. The firstborn son dying, everyone covered in boils. It's pretty cool seeing that. So if you haven't seen that, it might be you might enjoy it. Expedition Bible. Okay, chapter 15. Then Moshe and the people of Israel sang this song to Yahweh. I will sing to Yahweh, for he is highly exalted. The horse and its rider he threw in the sea. Yah is my strength and my song, and he has become my salvation. This is my God, I will glorify him. My father's God, I will exalt him. Yahweh is a warrior. Yahweh is his name. Pharaoh's chariots and his army he hurled into the sea. His elite commanders were drowned in the sea of Suf. The deep waters covered them. They sank to the depths like a stone. Your right hand, Yahweh, is sublimely powerful. Your right hand, Yahweh, shatters the foe. By your great majesty, you bring down your enemies. You send out your wrath to consume them like stubble. With a blast from your nostrils, the waters piled up. The waters stood up like a wall. The depths of the sea became firm ground. The enemy said, I will pursue and overtake, divide the spoil and gorge myself on them. I will draw my sword, my hand will destroy them. You blew with your wind, the sea covered them. They sank like the lead in mighty waters. Who is like you, Yahweh, among the mighty? Who is like you, sublime in holiness, awesome in praises, working wonders? You reached out with your right hand, the earth swallowed them. In your love you led the people you redeemed. In your strength you guided them to your holy abode. The peoples have heard and they tremble. Anguish takes hold of those living in Peleshet. Then the chiefs of Edom are dismayed. The trepidation seizes the heads of Moab. All those living in Canaan are melted away. Terror and dread fall on them. By the might of your arm they are still as stone, until your people pass over, Yahweh. To the people you purchased, pass over. You will bring them in and plant them on the mountain which is your heritage, the place, Yahweh, that you made your abode, the sanctuary, Yahweh, which your hands established. Yahweh will reign forever and ever. For the horses of Pharaoh went with his chariots and with his cavalry into the sea. But Yahweh brought the sea waters back on them, while the people of Israel walked on dry land in the midst of the sea. Also Miriam the prophet, sister of Aaron, took a tambourine in her hand, and all the women went out after her with tambourines, dancing, as Miriam sang to them. Sing to Yahweh, for he is highly exalted. The horse and its rider he threw in the sea. Moshe led Israel onward from the sea of Suf. They went out into the Shur desert, but after traveling 3 days in the desert, they had found no water. They arrived at Marah, but couldn't drink the water there because it was bitter. This is why it is called Marah, bitterness. The people grumbled against Moshe and asked, what are we to drink? Moshe cried to Yahweh, and Yahweh showed him a certain piece of wood, which, when he threw it into the water, made the water taste good. And there Yahweh made laws and rules of life for them, and there he tested them. He said, if you will listen intently to the voice of Yahweh your God, and do what he considers right, pay attention to his mitzvah and observe his laws, I will not afflict you with any of the diseases I brought on the Egyptians, because I am Yahweh, your healer. All right, so that is it. That is all of the scriptures that I have for Passover week. There's a lot of them. I'm sure there's even more going here throughout scriptures that talk about Passover, and we didn't even touch on the Brit Hadashah, the New Testament. But that is it. I've actually got to leave here in a little while, go pick up Mr. Smith. So I've only got a little bit more that I can spend on here. And again, next week we'll jump back into the Torah portions. I have not looked ahead in the journal here, but in the past they would kind of double up on some passages on some of the parts for the days, and then they would eventually catch up to where we left off, since we paused for a week of it. So next week, like I said, I haven't looked ahead to see what the schedule is in here, but next week we may do more than just one portion. It may be a portion and a quarter or something like that. So but we'll pick back up with Torah portions next week. And the passages, the portions that we've been reading have been very involved with the temple or the tabernacle, and the sacrifices that the priests would do, and the garments, and all of the things that were made, the holy, for the Holy of Holies, for the Ark of the Covenant, all the different implements and all of the things that were used by the priest. But as we continue in the Torah, we're now going to be shifting, and we're going to be reading the things that the Father wanted us to do, like the people to do. I've said in the past how the Torah teaches people how to serve God and how to be a good human. And so we're entering into how to be a good human to everyone else. When it says to love your neighbor as yourself, that's the part that we're about to go into, because the Torah is broken into the love God with all your might, heart, strength, being, all of you, and then love your neighbor as yourself. So we just did the serve God with everything in you, and now we're entering into the other part. So while a lot of that stuff that we talked about previously with the Torah, the commands, didn't necessarily apply to us today, because there is no temple, there is no Holy of Holies, there is none of that stuff here on the earth. All of the rest of this that we're going to be reading is different. It's about what he expects of us, how we're supposed to behave as his people, how we're supposed to represent him. And so I think while what we were reading might have been kind of dry, the next part certainly not. So, but again, that is all I have for y'all today. Yeah, it's actually stopped raining. It's kind of brightened up out there. I don't know if I can see any sky, but it's much brighter at the moment. So I don't know if we're supposed to be getting any hard storms here. I know we are supposed to. We're forecasted to get some storms, but I don't think we have anything. I don't think it's supposed to be bad here, at least not that I've seen. I do know that there are some storm systems going through that have some potential for bad storms, extreme, thunderstorms and all that stuff. So y'all, those who are in the path of those, I just pray y'all stay safe. Thank you, Diane. Yeah, it's just wet roads out there is all it is right now. So, and hopefully Mr. Smith doesn't have any issues arriving. But absolutely, thank you, Melanie. It is my pleasure. I don't like missing, so I try to coordinate this so that I I try to do this at the same time every week, but sometimes I can't. And actually, now that I remember, I am going to be out of town next week. So I will not be doing the regular Torah portion. I just totally forgot about this, forgot to mention it, y'all. So I'm sorry. I will pre-record the Torah portion that is in the journal for next week, Saturday. And I will schedule it so it'll go live at the normal time. I will schedule it as a premiere so that it will have the chat here. And so all of you guys who come in and you participate with this will be able to see the chat and everything. So I'll set it up as a premiere. I am going to be heading up to northern Arkansas this coming weekend. There is a homesteader event that I will be participating in. It's called something, the Shindig or something like that. I can never remember the name of it. But it's like a homesteading shindig. I will be there. I'm only going to be there on Friday. I'm actually going to be doing canning demos, but I'm not going to be actually canning food because there's no way for me to do that under a canopy without running water and all that stuff. So I'm just going to be kind of going through the process and showing people how to use a hot water bath canner, how to use a steam canner, how to use a pressure canner, and I'll be demoing it. And I'm just going to do jars of water because, safety and all that stuff. And I don't want to waste food. You know what I mean? But I'll have a table set up and I'm going to take all of my canners. So people who are not familiar with canning can see the different kinds of canners and stuff. So, but yeah, so I'll be there on Friday. And it's not local. It's up Jesper, Arkansas. It's an area I have not been to yet. And so I won't be here on Saturday. I'll be home on Saturday. I just won't be here for the regular for this. So, but anyways, that is it, y'all. Thank you for joining in for scriptures early. Oh, Debbie says spring is finally breaking through this week. Hopefully I get my gardening in. Nice. Yeah, I've been planting this week. And I have a whole stack of seeds that I'm going to start some more of. So it feels like it's later in the spring already because it's been so warm, but we actually just passed our last average frost date. So it feels later than it is, but yeah, I'm definitely enjoying getting out there in the sun and getting my hands in the dirt. As a matter of fact, my Sunday video tomorrow is a garden related video. I have a DIY project that I did this week. So, all right, y'all, let's go ahead and wrap this up. Thank you, Abba, for having the ability to get together a day. Ooh, Father, I can't even talk right now. Thank you, Abba, for giving us another opportunity to get together and read your word. As many of us are finishing up Passover week, this beautiful reminder of what you did to free us from the bondage of our sin. Just like you brought your people out of their bondage in Egypt, passing them over and protecting them with the blood of a lamb. You do the same thing for us. The perfect lamb. It takes away the sins of the world. When it's applied to us, applied to our heart, washed white as snow. Thank you for giving us this appointed time every year to be reminded of your grace and your mercy and the freedom that you bring. Giving us an action to take to teach the next generation. Why do you do this? Why do we do these? Because of what our Abba did for us. Because of the sacrifice of Yeshua that paid for us. Thank you. Father, I lift up every person who has joined in here today and those who watch later. You know the needs that they have in their lives. I pray for those who do not walk with you, who do not truly know you, that you reveal yourself to them, that you deliver them from anything that has grip on them, that they are bound by. Just like you freed the people from Egypt, just like you deliver us from your sins, Father, I pray for that continued deliverance. I pray for those who have needs in their families, loved ones who are ill, loved ones who are lost, things that they themselves are facing. You know the needs, Father. And I pray that you meet them according to your will. And I pray for those who are suffering, those who are in physical bondage. This world grows more and more evil, Father. But we know that the darker it gets, the more your light shines, the brighter it is. Help us to be that salt and light to show people how to get to you. Again, Father, we thank you. And we ask these things in the name of your Son, Yeshua HaMashiach, Jesus the Christ. Amen. Passover is a very good reminder of what he did for us, what he did for the Israelites, and what he did for us. Okay. All right. And with that, again, I will not see you next week. I will pre-record and schedule the scripture portion. I'll schedule it to go live at the normal time on next week on Saturday. And so that is it. May the Lord bless you and keep you. Make his face shine upon you and give you peace. In the name of the Prince of all Peace, Yeshua HaMashiach, Jesus the Christ. I'll talk to y'all next time. Shabbat Shalom.